Hi, it's Alexis Hasselberger, time management and productivity coach. Now, I heard a quote the other day and it stuck with me, so I wanted to share it with you, but I also want to share some thoughts about it. So, this quote is: those who make the worst use of their time are the first to complain of its brevity. And this is by someone named Jean de la Bruyere. So, again, this quote is: those who make the worst use of their time are the first to complain of its brevity, right? And this stuck with me for a number of reasons. And so, I wanted to talk to you about it and see what you think. So I think the first thing that we want to do when we think about this quote is to just define like what does a good use of our time mean versus a bad use of our time. And I think this is important because this is actually something that only you can decide. Like I cannot decide for you what makes a good use of your time. And if I did, that would be silly. Just like you cannot decide for me what makes a good use of my time. That's entirely personal. Like if we look at, let's just look at my life because I know more about my life than I do about yours, right? If you looked at my life and you think, wow, she spends like, at least an hour cooking every day and way more on the weekend. If you're somebody who doesn't value cooking or doesn't enjoy cooking, you would be like, well, there's so many other ways to get food into our body that don't take that time, right? But I enjoy it. So it's a good use of time to me. There are lots of people who, don't have a TV and in fact, sometimes like to brag about how they don't have a TV, right? And if I were to tell these people that, yes, me, a time management and productivity coach, is someone who watches several hours of TV a week, you might think, oh, like that doesn't seem like a good use of time, but I enjoy it. So it is a good use of time to me, right? Likewise, I spend a whole lot of time in like what I call making, right? Like at the pottery studio or, knitting or crocheting and things like that. People that don't value that stuff would not find that to be a good use of their time, right? So again, only you get to define what is a good use of your time. Now, back to complaining about time and using it not as well as we could and the brevity that we feel when we are not using it well. So what does this actually come down to? I actually think this is all about intention, right? When we intend to use our time in a certain way, and then we do use our time in that way, there is not that cognitive dissonance that we feel when we are, thinking in one way, but using our time in a different way, right? Or maybe we even, maybe we have the best of intentions, but we didn't follow through on a plan. So I don't know about you, but, I've certainly had days where no, I just call it like letting the day happen to you, right? It's like you start with the best of intentions. Maybe you have a list over here, but then you get stuck in reactive mode, right? You are getting those emails, you're answering those emails, the Slack messages are coming in, the Teams messages are coming in, you've got a meeting and now you've got another meeting. And all of a sudden you get to the end of your day and you're like, I've been working all day. I've been working hard. And yet I didn't cross much off the list. It doesn't feel like I made good use of my time. And often I think it's this intentionality, like, are we stuck in this reacting to other things? Or were we able to be a bit more proactive about our time? And when we feel more proactive about our time, when we think about how we want to use it and then put in practices to allow us to use it in a better way, sometimes that's boundaries, sometimes that's things around efficiency, et cetera, then we feel a lot better about this time. So I want to give you a little challenge because maybe we're talking a little bit esoterically and we want to bring it back down to the tactical. I want you to think if you are someone who feels like, you know what, I don't have as much time as I wish that I did, right? And it doesn't feel great all of the time. I want you to make just a quick list. Just spend, I don't know, 10 seconds doing it. You can even pause this video, right? And just write down a few things that feel like a good use of your time, right? When you do it, it feels like a good use. Maybe even something pleasurable, like something that you really enjoy versus just more work, which probably does feel like a good use of your time, but maybe that's not what we're seeking here, right? Just make a list. And then I want you to see if you can pick one of these things and figure out a way to get 10 minutes of this into your life every day this week, right? Just 10 minutes of whatever this is. Maybe it's reading, maybe it's practicing the piano, maybe it's being more present with your kids, maybe it's taking your dog on a walk, like whatever it is, right? And just see, can you get 10 minutes of this by being intentional, right? By looking at your calendar and saying, where could I fit it in? Right? Can you get 10 more minutes of this? And then you could keep going from there, right? We are not going to go from a life that feels very hectic, very reactive into a life that feels, more intentional and proactive in a split second. Like that is just not going to happen. And that's a recipe for disaster and for making ourselves feel terrible. But what we can do is strive for little baby steps, right? And here's the thing. Time is neutral, right? There isn't too much time. There isn't enough time or not enough time, right? There's just time and how we use that time. That's it. If you have any kind of questions, drop them below. If you want to keep getting this type of content, make sure to subscribe. And I will see you again here next week.
Just like she said, make sure to subscribe because it helps out the channel a lot, and it'd be really cool if you could do that. Thank you.